It's real. It's real. You know the deal. You know the deal. Come on.
Hey, it's Shanté.
And I'm Natalie. And welcome to What's the Deal? A podcast powered by the Norfus Firm. At the Norfus Firm, we solve people problems. We work with employers all around the world on HR and DEI strategies. Our podcast focuses on a leader's role in DEI. And this is actually really leadership focused today, right?
Extremely leadership focused, but not like the executive leadership level. We're going to take it down a level or two and really focus this one on the mid-level manager level. So what's the deal, Natalie, with these managers? They keep dropping the ball when it comes to this DEI.
Oh, that's loaded. So I think before I get to that, right, because we got the answers there, I think it's really important to be shared in terms of where we're starting from.
Yes.
And when we think about middle managers, there's this really interesting study that was done by Wharton School of Business. And basically their premise was that middle managers can be the linchpin, that's their word, to DEI efforts. And so in that study, there was a really great definition I found in terms of how the authors defined what a middle manager is. And so they talked a lot about the fact that middle managers carry out the daily operation of an organization and its policies. And because they have discretion, right?
What a great word.
Discretion over that policy, and they interact with employees on a regular basis, they have a lot of power in dictating your culture. And the discretion piece was interesting to me because it gets at this idea that if there isn't a standard on how it's expected, each person's going to come at the thing, whatever it is, whatever business strategy it is, with using their own discretion, their own judgment.
Right.
And so, when we think about the fact that diversity strategies or DEI strategies often are led at senior levels, or senior levels have some input on how that goes. And then you may have other staff that are involved. When it comes time to carry it out, to apply it, to do it, folks at that middle level are the ones that are typically having to do it because they are having the most interaction on a day-to-day basis with employees.
And so that's, if you think about it from an energetic perspective, that's a lot that you got to manage, right? You're managing up, dealing with, okay, so this is where I got to go. I mean, this is the mandate, right? This is the charge. This is what I need to be doing. I have my goals. I have my performance measures, all those things that I get from the person above me. And I'm constantly communicating, making sure that person has what they need in order to be successful and do their job. So I'm managing up, but then I'm also managing down, so to speak, where I have all my team. And I have to make sure I communicate and convey all of what everyone needs to do as a group in order to hit these objectives and meet these goals. And so just in my job alone, in that one aspect of my job, there's a lot of back and forth, up and down that needs to happen. And so when you add on top of that, I think a lot of these managers get a little stuck, right? And I'm just trying to survive. I'm just trying to get this part done. Now you want me to think about something else on top of that?
And the DEI stuff is particularly, it's one of those areas where people can, as we've said, get scared.
Yeah.
So if it's sort of like, okay, we have this measure of, we have like a social media campaign, and we got to get so many impressions, we got to get so many views. Cool, right? Like for most people, it's maybe I don't know exactly how to do it, but I can do it and get the team energized. DEI, as we've been talking about, has so many personal components to it.
So many.
And in the United States, we're very litigious. So folks are worried if I say the wrong thing,
right?
If I go about it the wrong way, we're going to get sued.
Right. And
so that fear actually can have folks focus more on the things that they're comfortable with, or at least more comfortable with, and that DEI piece. So we talk about the challenge of managing up and down, the challenge of folks being scared. I think another big thing that we see, and research also backs this up, is competing priorities.
100%. I have to do so many things just to do my job. And I don't know maybe I haven't been given clear direction on what the priority is with those things. Like how do they line up? What do I need to get done first or second, or how does this align with that? Or, it's relational. So they don't know how things really stack up with one another. And then now again, based on all the things we've talked about we're post pandemic. We have all the social justice issues. We have the racial equity things. We have all these layers now that have been added on top of the manager just being able to do the manager's job.
Right.
It makes it really, really challenging for them. And then they're not given the tools that they necessarily need to get it done. I mean, there's an expectation coming down from leadership that, again, you're the one that's going to drive this home for us with the team. But the managers are like, but wait, I don't.
Right, because they don't see it. They don't see how it fits in their day to day.
Right.
I mean, we hear that a lot. Like,
so many.
How does this work? If I'm responsible for, a production team that has to produce, 1,000 cars a day, how does DEI fit in that? What is that? What do you mean? Or we hear a lot of apply a DEI lens or a racial equity lens. What does that actually mean? So that's, I think, when we think about those sort of pain points.
Right.
And again, obviously, middle managers are critical to things happening on a day-to-day basis. I mean, that is like obvious. But there's so many different, like, again, layers, as you said, that they're dealing with. How do we move from some of these obstacles that can really cause these efforts to just fall down altogether? Because again, we come up with these really beautiful plans on paper and we're like, hey guys, we're so excited. We have a plan. And then you take it and you give it to people and it's like, cool, let me just set that to the side. Cause I don't know where that fits and
what that even is.
Yeah. I got a bonus to earn. I don't know if that's going to help me get to the bonus I need to get out of here by a certain time. So,
and they don't see how that's going to that actually will help them get to the bonus. But what I love, you use the word often when you said that you have to operationalize this work, and it's a great word. It's how do we make it meaningful? How do we actually fit it into the day-to-day work that they have to do? What does that look like in operationalizing DEI for middle managers specifically?
So first things first, what is taking the time to identify the skills needed to do the work, right? Mm-hmm. So when we think about executing a DEI plan, do your middle managers possess the skills necessary to do it? If they don't, it's not the end of the world. It is, then we develop targeted training and opportunities for people to practice and develop these skills, right? So the first thing is that sort of what's needed and where we are, right? Versus where we want to be, right? Our problem scenario. So the training piece is really the skill identifier.
Right. And then what have we seen? We've seen it vary from organization to organization. Some organizations, middle managers need just to be able to have conversations with people. They can't even talk about these topics. They just have no interpersonal skills. So it's like, let's give them those tools in order to just talk to their people. And then other organizations, it's more so like, okay, but how do I apply a framework to the work that I do? So, okay, let's look at it and figure out what that gap is there. So really, it's not a one size fits all, I think is what we say all the time, that you really have to understand your managers and what role you want them to have in your organization and really work to fit that, right?
Yeah, and I think that the piece of that is, starting granular and getting big. So we talk about, let's pick a process, a process that you do on a daily basis in a department, and dig into how DEI fits with that. Because again, you may already be doing it and not realizing it. You may already be doing the thing, or there's just some improvements that can be made, but really taking some time to zero in, test it out with a few different departments, again, the bite-sized pieces, so that you can see, okay, this is what it bring it to your conscious mind of this is what it looks like to apply a DEI lens. We ask certain questions, we make sure certain voices are represented, right? And we've done this with clients in terms of developing these frameworks, because it makes it real for people. I mean, we sit inside of, facilitations and people are like, okay, well, we had this really great DEI training, we had this really great racial equity training, but what are we supposed to do with it? And so it's really making that tie. Right. That's what all of this boils back to. People have got to understand why they're doing something and what it relates to. Right. And if it's just like, hey, we have DEI goals, but people aren't aware of the overall strategy, like what you're trying to get to in 3 to 5 years, it's like it all becomes kind of mush.
Right. And then they also don't understand their role in getting to that 3, 5, whatever that benchmark is. How does me doing what I'm doing right now with this added thing, what does that do to move the needle forward? It really just brings up for me that folks just don't understand the why a lot of times. They don't, we're past the point of folks being like, okay, no, we know this is good for business. Right. But we're at that point now where folks need to know, okay, but how do we really achieve and have impact here with this work? And what's my role in it? Like to the point you made earlier, they can go through all these trainings, but if I am showing up, great, I understand how systemically, how the history of the United States or wherever country I'm in has impacted and why we're here now. But now what?
Exactly.
What are we doing?
Yeah. And so I think, as we wind down here and we're thinking about this idea around culture potentially being made or broken at this middle manager level because of the amount of discretion, the amount of interaction, the amount of responsibility middle managers have for carrying out policies and plans. It's really important, again, that this gets tied in when you're planning and thinking about these skills. So again, research shows we've seen these plans, DEI plans and strategies can fall down at that middle level. We hear CEOs and C-suite folks say that all the time. And to ensure that you're getting the value and you're pushing it forward, folks need to understand their part in it and why you're asking them to do certain things. And then have the tools to do it, whether it be times to practice, trainings or other skill building opportunities that develop that comfort, the normalizing of these conversations day in and day out, the space for them, so that you're operating on the same page.
Exactly.
So thanks as always for joining us. We have lots more in store, so we look forward to seeing you soon.
See ya.